Hello and good afternoon, my fellow literateurs. My name is Hassaan Masood, and today I invite you to explore a captivating narrative of contrasts that I would like to call as Nora versus Candida, the women who left and the women who stayed. Now, before I dive in, let me pose a question. Who are Nora and Candida? You guys must already be wondering about this. Well, Nora Helmer is the protagonist of Henrik Ibsen's groundbreaking play A Doll's House, published in 1889. Initially, she's seen as playful, naive, almost childlike, a quote-unquote doll in her own house. But by the end, she becomes the woman who dares to leave her husband and children to rediscover herself. And she declares in one fiery moment,
"My duties towards myself. I think that before all else, I'm a human being just as much as you are."
And then she slams the door on her husband's face. That was her final act. And the burst of that sound was so powerful that it was set to echo across the world of 19th century patriarchy. On the other hand, Candida Moral is the central figure of the play of the same name, Candida, published in 1894 by Nobel Prize-winning playwright George Bernard Shaw. And well, Candida is no damsel. She's smart, confident, and unapologetically pragmatic, and in a unique twist in the end. Unlike Nora, she decides to stay. Not out of submission, but as an assertion of her power. By staying, she redefines domesticity as a site of empowerment. Her choice to stay and rule rather than leave challenges traditional feminist narratives as we know them. So here we have it, 2 women, 2 plays, and 2 radically different approaches to identity and freedom. Through their journeys, we will unravel what it means to reclaim autonomy in a world bound by societal norms. Let's begin then. To truly understand Nora and Candida, we need to first peek into the world they inhabited, the rigid, suffocating norms of Victorian society. Now, picture this, a society where a woman's worth was confined to 2 extremes. She was either the angel of the house, celebrated for her purity and self-sacrifice, or she was the fallen woman, vilified for her independence and ambition. But by the late 19th century, the winds of change began to stir. The feminist movement was in its infancy and emerged to challenge these toxic stereotypes. Enter Henrik Ibsen and George Bernard Shaw, 2 playwrights who threw open the doors to this rebellion. Ibsen, often called the father of modern drama, dared to show women struggling for their identity in a patriarchal world. Through Nora, he introduced the idea of liberation by breaking free of societal norms entirely. Shaw, on the other hand, emerged a few years later during the rise of the quote-unquote new woman, a figure who embraced individuality while rethinking traditional roles. Candida reflects Shaw's unique feminist ideology, an ideology that preaches liberation within existing frameworks. In short, Victorian society placed women in chains, but Ibsen and Shaw offered them 2 sets of keys, one to leave and one to stay and redefine their place. And that's where Nora and Candida enter the stage. Now, let's step into the world of Nora Helmer, the protagonist of A Doll's House. When we first meet Nora, she is the quintessential Victorian wife, playful, naive, and completely reliant on her husband, Torvald. She is quite literally treated like a doll, with Torvald calling her pet names like Skylark and Featherhead. But beneath that facade lies a woman grappling with societal constraints. Nora's journey towards self-discovery begins with a daring act, and that act was that she secretly borrowed money to save her husband's life. Such a move was illegal for women at that time. Yet, when Torvald discovers her secret, instead of gratitude, he belittles her. Typical, calling her a liar and a criminal and an unfit mother. This very moment becomes her breaking point. Nora realizes that she has lived her entire life pleasing others. First, her father, and then her husband. Her decision to leave Torvald and her children isn't easy. It's radical, but it symbolizes her reclaiming her identity. The door she slams shut doesn't just close on her marriage. It opens a path for women worldwide to question their roles in society. Nora isn't just the woman who left. She's the woman who sparked a feminist awakening. Now, let's turn our attention to Candida Moral, the central figure of George Bernard Shaw's Candida. Unlike Nora, Candida is no naive doll. She enters the stage as a confident, pragmatic woman who is fully aware of her worth. Her story doesn't revolve around rebellion or breaking free. It's about mastering the existing frameworks of domestic life. Candida's power lies in her ability to control the dynamics of her relationship. She is the one who has the power to decide between her husband, Reverend Morrill, and her young admirer, Eugene Marchbanks. At the climax, both men compete for her, and Candida coolly declares that she will stay with the weaker of the two. This statement flips the script. Instead of Candida being dependent on her husband, it's revealed that Morrill needs her far more than she needs him. What makes Candida remarkable is her unique take on empowerment. While Nora slammed the door to claim her freedom, Candida chooses to stay. She doesn't see domesticity as a prison. It's actually a platform for her autonomy. Her decision to remain is not about submission, it's about asserting control and redefining her role. In a society where women were expected to leave power at the door, Candida boldly brings power into her home. She is the woman who stayed, but she stayed on her own terms. Now that we have explored Nora and Candida individually, let's compare their feminist journeys and the unique ways they challenged societal norms. Nora, from Ibsen's A Doll's House, represents radical feminism. She rejects the oppressive roles imposed on her by Victorian society. By leaving her husband and children, Nora claims her identity and freedom, symbolizing a complete break from tradition. Her choice reflects Ibsen's belief that women must dismantle societal structures to achieve liberation. On the other hand, Candida, in Shaw's Candida, reflects a more pragmatic feminism. She doesn't reject domestic life, but redefines it as a space of power and autonomy. And by staying, she asserts her authority within the existing framework, challenging the existing notion that empowerment can only come from leaving. Both characters share a central message that states that a woman's autonomy lies in her ability to choose her path, whether that means leaving, like Nora, or staying, like Candida. Their choices remind us that feminism isn't about a one-size-fits-all solution. It's actually about the right to define oneself on one's own terms. Together, Nora and Candida represent two sides of the same coin. One slams the door to open new opportunities, while the other stays to reshape the room from within. And now, my fellow literateurs, as we near the end of this journey, let's reflect on the stories of Nora and Candida, two women who walked opposite paths but shared a common purpose. Nora, the woman who left, showed us the power of breaking free from societal chains. Her slammed door echoed a radical feminist call for identity and liberation. Candida, the woman who stayed, taught us the strength of redefining power within the home, proving that autonomy can thrive even in traditional spaces. Together, these characters remind us that feminism is not a monolith. It's about choices. And now, I leave you with this thought. What would you do if you were in Nora's or Candida's shoes? Would you leave to find yourself, or stay to redefine your space? And thank you so much for being such an attentive audience. This is your fellow Muhammad Hassaan Masood. Have a nice day. Bye bye.